Hello, everyone. Welcome. We'll give folks just about a minute to join the webinar. Thank you so much for being here today to learn about the zero waste demonstration site, targeted call with Project Greenlight. Okay, let's get going. So hello, welcome to today's webinar, where we will be digging into the zero waste demonstration site, targeted market call with Project Greenlight. We're really excited to hear your questions and share more about all the details. But before we get started, it is with gratitude and respect that I acknowledge that Vancouver is the traditional unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. We will be going through a quick introduction. We'll introduce the challenge partners, then we'll talk about the challenge itself, give you some information about the application process and the evaluation, talk about those key dates and eligibility criteria, some tips for your application, and then we'll spend most of the time in Q&A. So we really want to hear your questions. So do feel free to toss your questions into the Q&A feature throughout the presentations and during the Q&A session. So nice to meet you. I'm Heather Kirchetier. I am the Director of Innovation Challenges with Foresight Canada. I'd like to invite John now to introduce himself.
Thank you, Heather. I'm John McPherson, Senior Manager with the Vancouver Economic Commission. So we're collaborating on this project with the City of Vancouver, Foresight, and we're leading the Project Greenlight initiative. So I'm joined also on my team by Athena Wren. So thanks everyone for joining today.
And over to you, Faisal.
Thank you, Heather. I'm Faisal, Senior Project Manager with the City of Vancouver, and I'm the lead on this project. Just wanted to give a shout out to team members Graham Fonseca and Nada Jagodich, along with two members of the steering committee, Director Albert Seamus and Branch Manager John McDermott, as well as Stantec, our design engineer.
So for those of you who might not be familiar with Foresight, allow me to tell you a little bit more. Foresight is Canada's clean tech accelerator. Our main goal is to fuel the transformation to a green economy across the country, with the final objective of helping Canada to be the first net zero economy in the G7. We can divide our activities into basically 5 areas. We have our accelerator program, we have innovation challenges, we work on capital attraction, export support, and we connect the stakeholders in the sector using our Helix 5 model. Those stakeholders in the Helix 5 model are innovators, industry, investors, government, and academia. So we hope that you'll join us as we support the growth and commercial impact of clean tech in Canada and around the world.
Thank you, Heather. So the Vancouver Economic Commission, we're an agency of the City of Vancouver. Our mandate is to build a prosperous and inclusive economy. We launched a number of events, initiatives to support this goal. We focus on local economic developments, so supporting decarbonization, circular economy, and zero waste. We do a number of things, and we're happy to support this initiative and lead this to support the ambitions of driving zero waste in the City of Vancouver. Faisal?
Thanks, John.
Thanks, John. So Vancouver is the 3rd largest metropolitan region in Canada and the 3rd largest port in North America. And the City of Vancouver has significant infrastructure assets, as you can see. The City of Vancouver is one of the member municipalities of Metropolitan Vancouver, or Metro Vancouver as it's known formally. Vancouver aspires to be a zero waste community by 2040 as per its council approved Zero Waste 2040 strategic plan, which focuses on eliminating the need of disposal to solid waste in landfills and incinerators. Among other things, the plan supports new business models and technologies which will help Vancouver move towards a more circular economy. Next slide, please. Thanks, Heather. So one of the city's largest infrastructure assets is our landfill located in Delta, BC. The landfill receives 70% of Metro Vancouver's solid waste, and final closure is planned for 2037. However, at current fill rates, closure could happen earlier. To that end, the city is seeking innovative solutions that are functional and scalable to support its Zero Waste 2040 goal. Next slide, please, Heather. The challenge is seeking technology solutions that address these 7 large categories while showing that they can commercialize, i.e. create a scalable business. Because one thing, it's great there's lots of solutions out there, but are they commercially viable and can they scale to make a difference to reduce the amount of waste as well as greenhouse gases that are associated with it? Next slide, please. So the zero waste demonstration site is a 1 acre site located in our southern industrial lands, what used to be our recycling receiving yard. It's zoned heavy industrial, and innovators can co-locate to demonstrate their solutions for 18 to 24 months. And we hope that this will be the first of many cohorts. Next slide, Heather. From the previous slide, you can see that the site is quite underwhelming, but Stantec, our design engineer, who's also on the call, is working with what's there to create a minimum viable product of a co-location site. Our proposal is that there would be up to 10 technologies that would demonstrate, which are denoted by the orange rectangles and then the dashed lines for more staging and parking and so forth. We could also provide a shipping container for storage if required. That's where the orange footprint would be. The site would be permitted to operate almost any type of solid waste activity, as long as you have an environmental and occupational health and safety plan by a professional. And we're happy to steer you in the right way in that way. You can bring in your own trailer if you'd like, but that would require a building permit on your own. But if you can work within the low footprint environment, everything is ready for you. And as I stated before, we're working with what's there, and we plan upgrades as needed so that we can show that this co-location model has legs. As we proceed and we see success, we will then add future infrastructure, including 3-phase power and more permanent buildings. This is why we're looking for more low footprint technology to start off. And what I mean by low footprint are, if you need power, then you'd have to bring in a jet set, a genset rather. And if you wanted to bring in any kind of utilities, you'd have to bring them in tanks and so forth to make sure that you can meet your operational needs. But eventually, as we move forward, we'll start to upgrade as we see this concept to get some momentum. The federal government, more specifically Pacific Can, is very interested in funding this project once we can demonstrate some success. They're actually quite keen to get our application in now, and we haven't even laid anything on the ground yet. So we're really excited about that. Next slide, please. Okay, I love this picture. Thank you, VEC, for putting this together, because it inspires me to see what the site could be. Imagine a site like this where you could bring in strategic partners, investors, customers, and delegations to view your technology and get that next bump. Would that help you commercialize? I hope so. From the government side, as you know, we are very risk averse, but we know that we need to step up. And one of the ways of doing this is allowing companies like you to succeed and learn, and for us to have a front row seat to support you as well as learn, so that we can go beyond some of our paradigms because of just the way things are done. Next slide, please. So why should you apply? In addition to showcasing your solution to potential clients, investors, strategic partners, and important stakeholders, you can align yourself with the city's $31 billion brand. It's probably higher because of inflation. There's almost nobody in the world who doesn't want to come to Vancouver because of its reputation, which is fantastic because we're smaller in population than other cities with the same brand level. Also, the city has supported innovators in the past the best it can, but now that we have a site, it'll be easier to mobilize resources and focus resources as well as provide support because it's something you can touch. Okay, I'll pass this over to John to carry on. But before I do, I'd like to give a shout out to the BC Centre for Innovation and Clean Energy and their open call for innovation non-dilutive funding webinar, which is on right after this. So, and we have lots of great partners that we've been working with, and we look forward to working with not just the entrepreneurs and the innovators, but also the connectors as well and other organizations within BC, Canada, and the world. Thank you.
So to submit an application for space at the Zero Waste demonstration site, you need to visit projectgreenlight.io. So this is VEC's regional demonstration technology platform where we host challenges to facing different organizations in the region, including the City of Vancouver and the Zero Waste demonstration site. So you would visit the City of Vancouver page where you would learn more about the city's challenge related to zero waste. You'll find out more details, requirements, and everything you need to know is on that page. There is an application guide as well. So all the information, please go visit that page and you'll find out more details. Next slide. So we've created a structured and streamlined application process. Now, what you would do once you decide that you are looking to apply, you would create an innovator account, basic information on your company, and then a company profile. And you're prompted along each step of the way, you're prompted by confirmation emails, which tells you how to go to the next step. You would submit then, after you create a company profile, which is boilerplate company information, an application form, which is targeted to the Zero Waste Challenge, with more specific questions. So you need to prepare for this one, put some thought into it. It should take a few hours to do. Following that application, you would engage the organization. You would engage us directly after you were shortlisted. We go through a review process between the City of Vancouver, Foresight, and other partners. We have a review panel. And then you would have the opportunity to pitch your solution to us, to the review panel. And then if you're selected after going through another process to refine your scope of work and your proposal further, and submit all of the required documents, then you would execute and deploy and submit your solution on site. So those are the quick steps that you would need to go through. Next slide.
Thanks, John. So now that we know what the challenge is about, some of the background, and how to go about applying, let's talk about the key dates. So we are accepting submissions right now. Today, of course, is the information webinar. And we will be accepting proposals until January 31st at 11:59 Pacific time. So make sure that you're getting your proposal in by then. Then during the month of February, we'll go through the evaluation. We'll have the pitch presentations in March, and then we'll be announcing the winners at the end of March. So we are looking for solutions that address a difficult to manage waste stream or reduce waste going to landfill. We will be accepting applications from outside of the Lower Mainland. So if you're not based in Vancouver or the surrounding area, you are still eligible to apply. We're looking for solutions that are at a TRL between 6 and 9, specifically post-lab to pre-commercial. And looking for those that are existing or near to completion pilot technology plants. And as Faisal said, we are looking for those solutions that require minimal infrastructure, and we also will consider passive displays. So while you're finishing your application, make sure you're first double checking that you fulfill all of the eligibility requirements. And then secondly, don't wait until the deadline to submit your application. You never know when there's going to be a technical glitch and we're unable to accept applications after that deadline. So do get it in early. We're also able to start reviewing and providing feedback if you're submitting your applications early. So the earlier you get it in, the sooner we can provide feedback. Make sure that you're providing data evidence where it's necessary to support any qualitative descriptions. Use clear language in the technical description of the technology and solution. Explain any progress that you've done to date. And as John mentioned, you can check out the Project Greenlight website, but you can also email us at hello@projectgreenlight.io with any specific questions. So I'll put these QR codes up for a moment if folks want to jump to either the Project Greenlight or the City of Vancouver website to learn more. And then we will have lots of time to dig into questions and answers. So please do feel free to put your questions in the Q&A feature, and we will get to answering those questions now. So, first question. Is there any funding associated with this program?
Sorry, Heather, can you repeat the question?
Is there any funding associated with the question or with the program?
Yeah, I can answer that. John, is that okay?
Sure.
Yeah. So with respect to funding, there is no direct funding related to this this project. And that's why we encourage you to look at other funding sources. But with respect to funding, we would be providing in-kind funding with respect to allowing you to connect with our engineer, Stantec, to help you get into the site. So the intent would be more of an in-kind support as well as staff time, both on the VEC and the city time.
And I would just add that we could write letters of support to a funding application. So whether it's anything that you're really looking at, if you're looking at funding for commercialization, different kind of commercialization programs, IRAP, EDI, BC Fast Pilot, and others that you think are relevant and might be appropriate for this purpose, we'd be happy to support you on that application process.
Yeah, and John, I would agree that we would do that as well. We've done that in the past. Again, you're aligning yourself with the city's brand, which is significant. So we've done letters of endorsement, and we are taking a very hands-off approach with respect to how you're funded. Of course, everything's got to be on the up and up, but however, we want you to come in and make those connections either outside of the site or within the site to get mobilized, and we're happy to support you how we can.
Great. Another question, will the site contain food grade approved facilities?
Food grade approved facilities.
And not that we have it set right now, no.
No.
Someone is asking for a little bit more clarification about the infrastructure available at the site. So confirming that there's no electricity, and also wondering what the water and drainage access looks like.
I can answer that. With respect to the right now, there is single phase power coming to the site. So if there is some small requirements such as a sensor, I'm sure we can work with that to help you out. With respect to something that requires like to run a pump or a generator, that would require more of a load, especially 3-phase power. And we're doing this sort of as a low footprint to showcase and demonstrate that there is legs, and we're trying to be fiscally responsible by not putting all this infrastructure up front if there isn't a market need for it. So we could help on smaller things, but you would be required to bring in your own gen set. I think the city could help somehow. We'd have to see. It would just really depend on who's applying and try to assess on a case-by-case basis. With respect to the water, there is a water service in the scale house, which has a washroom, and there is a hose. But again, if you can bring in your own water sources with tanks and so forth, then you can do that. And the other thing on the drainage, there is drainage on the site. However, you will have to have an environmental plan, and part of that will be managing any kind of spills or containment, or have some sort of secondary containment, and that's really important. And I just want to emphasize that with respect to the requirements, is that we're trying to prepare you for when you start working with larger industrial companies. If you have your environmental and your health and safety plan in place, which the city is really good at doing, you're going to be able to use that as not just beyond a testimonial, is that you'll actually have something that you've done on the site. But so anyway, I hope that answers your question. The site is, again, underwhelming. There's nothing much there at this point in time. We are going to be focused on giving you a well-lit and secure site. And then as we proceed, what may happen is that if we start getting a lot of uptake, we may, while you're in the site, we may be doing upgrades because we want to get it going. So we just hope that you'll bear with us as we fumble through this in this uncertain but exciting time. Thank you.
Thank you. Question around access. Will there be 24 hours access to the site?
Yeah, there will be. Well, we will have some staff, or at least one staff member during normal working office hours, and you can come in anytime. The the one thing is that it's part of your occupational health and safety and security, as well as that you would have to have, if you're coming in after hours, you have to have a protocol to make sure that you're safe. This is an area that is in the industrial lands, which are appealing in some respects, but also, it is a little isolated. So you can come in anytime you want. We also would allow you to do remote monitoring as well. But yeah, you just got to make sure that you're safe. We are working very closely with our corporate public safety group on what to do on work alone procedures and so forth. So we can definitely lend that expertise to you as well.
Great. Question around, are there any costs for participants?
So the cost, there will be a nominal fee. Normally, as part of the city, we cannot actually provide subsidized rent without getting council approval. So as soon as we get actually, we'll probably get started right after this when we start getting the applications, as we'll start working to going to our council to ask for reduced rent. And we're thinking a nominal fee in the order of between $500 and $1,000 for the 2 years, which is a fraction of the rent that you would pay on that site. And we want to charge something because we want to make sure that we have the commitment on both sides. The city is committed to doing this, as well as having the entrepreneur as well.
Perfect. Someone is asking if you could please just kind of repeat in summary the main goal for this project.
I can start. The main goal is to support entrepreneurs like yourselves, accelerate your growth, create jobs, and move you to a different level of the commercialization phase. So this is really to support you as an entrepreneur in your pursuit of growth. To support you by providing land, access to feedstock if possible, end user buyer connections. So we really want to make this a really vibrant sort of industrial sandbox where you can test and your technology, and also in parallel supporting the city's zero waste goals. Yeah. So Faisal, maybe had something to add from the city perspective.
Yeah, like you've covered all the great parts about helping entrepreneurs and innovators. On the city side is that, again, we want to know what's out there, because our landfill is closing and other landfills are closing throughout the world, and incineration is not the answer as well. So we want to know what's out there, and we know that we have to look at these technologies, and it can be, if we don't do this kind of testing and look at these sort of innovative solutions, we're not going to get there.
When is the earliest that the technologies could be deployed on site?
I can answer that. So we would have, once we get the results of the applications and start reviewing, we would have to finalize our paperwork with our lease agreement. We're thinking most likely in June we would get the companies on the site, but it could be sooner, depending on how some of the city processes go, to make sure. I just wanted to emphasize that we're putting in a lot of effort behind the scenes to make sure that the site is essentially wrapped with all of the permits and your requirements to come in. So once you've applied and you've been accepted, it's really more of a function of how quick can you get onto the site safely, make sure that you have your environmental and your occupational health and safety plan and your procedures. And so it's really a function of that as well. So we're looking most likely May or June.
Great. So a couple questions about staff for the site. So will the site be staffed? Will there be someone on site to receive deliveries? Will there be security? Anyone else on site that you could speak about?
Yeah, I can speak about the security. The security during the day, we actually have assets all on Kent there, and the city had bought a whole property and then had subdivided it. So there's actually what's called the abandoned car lot right next to it, where all of the abandoned cars go, and then there's the asphalt plant as well. So there is actually security that's in and around that. So we would just extend the security for that. And then with respect to staffing, with respect to deliveries, I can't see a city staff member doing that at this point in time, but we're open to exploring that. This is one of the reasons we're doing this. There's a lot of unknowns. So, but definitely we would need a presence during working hours just to see what's going on, and because we've never done this before. So if there's a one-off where you need us to receive a delivery, that shouldn't be a problem.
Great. I have a couple questions about geographic eligibility. So is this open to companies based in the US, in Europe? Speak about that a little bit.
Yeah, we are open to non-Canadian companies to apply. We would have it capped a certain percentage threshold, or around 25%. We're looking at to accept solutions from outside the Lower Mainland. We would encourage local partnerships. So if it was a US-based company, a European company, we would encourage a local partner to work with as well.
Yeah, and I can add to that as well. We have just on the operational side, we have some companies that are based in the US and they have no local representation, and it can be a nightmare because they always say they can remote into the pieces of equipment to fix them, but there's always gaps. So having a local partner that can come in and make sure the technology is running, doing monitoring for us to liaise with is really helpful. And I think that's just if you work internationally, that's pretty much like rule number one, is to always have a local partner.
That's great. We have another question about partnerships. How could we find partnerships just to make it more feasible in terms of success of a potential project? So you gave one example. Are there any other examples of partnerships that would be good to see?
I guess I'm trying to understand the question. I guess if it's company to company partnerships, this is something that VC does all the time. We are here to support companies as they commercialize, grow, and scale up. And so if there are companies that we can connect partners with on site to help accelerate their growth, we're happy to do that. We get companies approaching us all the time. So a lot of what we do is strategic matchmaking. We're happy to do that if it's a business-to-business connection for a company that's on site. We want to make sure that everybody's successful, of course. And if that was the question about B2B connections, that's something that we would continuously try to do for companies that are on site.
Great. So we've spoken a little bit about the facilities already, but someone's asking, so power and water we spoke about. They're also wondering about foundation, structure, anything that we haven't already talked about facilities of the site you can elaborate on?
Yeah, I can do that. With respect to foundations, we are, again, we're looking at, this is the first that's been done. So we, working with Stantec, I don't know if you've seen a lot of trailers out there and containers, but really they're all really basically placed on wooden pallets. So we're trying to keep it very low impact and low cost, but safe. And one of the things too is that we have to make sure that all of the, especially the floor levels have to be above what's called the flood construction level, because we are down by the river. But we don't see a problem with that. And if there are some design structural elements, then maybe we can bring Stantec to consult on that. The one thing I do want to bring up is that, and this is a great story, is that we want to definitely restore and reuse our brownfields, of which that is the zero waste demonstration site. It used to be our recycling receiving yard. Prior to that, it was a sawmill, and there actually was some contamination which was remediated. But that's pretty much normal thing happening down there. So at the current point in time for this, we do not want to do significant excavation into the site because that's what our certificate of compliance says with the Ministry of Environment. And I just wanted to reiterate that we're putting a lot of this work in place so that really, it's just you have gone through all the permitting because we've come to you already and taken care of that.
Perfect. Thank you. What types of tours or events will the city and/or VEC be curating to bring potential partners or investors or government reps to the site to build awareness and exposure? And is there any thinking yet about how frequently those types of activities will be happening?
John, you want to go first?
Yeah, we often get delegations come through to the city and VEC from abroad that are either investor groups or businesses looking for local partnerships. So we would definitely promote the site to those groups. The cadence of which and the frequency of which that happens, we are not sure of that yet. But we'll build out a marketing platform and plan to, from now for the 2 years, and that's something that we're starting to work on. To ensure we drive traffic and the right kind of traffic, targeted traffic to the site and the site. And we often receive delegations. In terms of brand building awareness and exposure, and this is touching on the next question, sorry, just on Alistair's question here about brand awareness and exposure. We would be looking to create a special feature newsletter. We would promote companies through our social media. We have 10,000 followers at VEC, and the city has a huge platform as well and megaphone to their community. For us, we can do more than city in terms of promoting specific companies as an economic commission. That's what we're allowed to do. So we would use our voice to communicate widely and broadly to the community about all the successes of participants on site. Through we could do videos of companies there, create a digital twin of the site, create more interaction with online. We're looking at a number of different exciting ideas, and social media videos of the participants on site and on success stories. We would celebrate achievements. So we would do a lot of things to help promote and build brand awareness.
Yeah.
Basil, anything to add?
Yeah, one thing, when people come to Vancouver, the delegations, it's always the neighborhood energy utility they go to, and it's like, and I always try to get them to look at some of the solid waste stuff. So I'm hoping that this will be one of the go-to spots where that they'll want to come and take a look. So we're definitely more than happy to do tours, and part of it on our side is we'll be bringing in governments, a lot of local governments to come in as well, because we're not here at the city just to for us to adopt it. And again, it comes to being risk averse, is that if other municipalities are interested in doing stuff as well, and we can help that, then that also brings other municipalities to do more innovation and try new things, because it is really hard to get some things done because of just things are set in a certain way, and there's a lot of sort of risk that's attached to it. But it's really important to not confuse risk with uncertainty, and I think that this is like a kind of our toe in the water on this, and we hope that you'll, as the city entity, that you'll bear with us, but we really want to learn and really kind of explore that uncertainty. And part of that is just bringing in people to bring in ideas. And if you happen to meet somebody while they're on tour, and we're also thinking about doing things like if there's a technology that's mobile and it's coming into town, like almost like a world tour, and we can maybe position it to come into the site for a little while and do an event. There's so many possibilities that we're really excited, but we don't know exactly what we're going to do, because we're just doing things one step at a time. But hope you will bear with us. Thank you.
Great. How much organic waste do you have, and who is responsible for that collection?
I guess you want me to answer that, John, right?
Yeah.
So the city, it is if you're just talking about the single family residential within the city of Vancouver, then it is the City of Vancouver that does that. The commercial and the institutional is run by private haulers, and it's really at the different commercial or institutional customers. So, but the city does have access to organic waste at our transfer station, which is 1 kilometer away to the west. So just tell us what you need, and we'll make it happen. We'll bring it over to you. We don't foresee the site. Like, again, the site is only 1 acre, and I know that technologies and companies have applied to not only take the 1 acre but ask for another 4. So just for their one technology, and they call that a pilot plant. So we know that there's going to be limited activities on the site. So we foresee that if you need like a pickup truck or something like that to do some testing, then we're happy to provide that. If there's anything that you become a commercial venture within the site, that's great. It's going to change a lot of things for us, but that if that's what happens, that's disruption and that's innovation. So, but whatever waste you need, just request it, and we'll do our best to get it for you. And with either through Recycle BC, we'll request it. But yeah, the city has, I think, approximately 30,000 tons of food organic waste. Plus, we have just yard waste that is at our landfill as well, and compost. So we do have access to different types of waste. I'm sorry, there's lots of moving pieces on that because it's we have, there's a different mix of types of waste and where they go.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe if folks want to learn more about any of that, they can send us an email and we can kind of get into the specifics.
Yeah.
Are there any limits on area site, square feet and square meters?
Okay. Yeah, well, so you can see there's 10, and those, so essentially that's 2 40-foot, like 1 40-foot shipping container times 2 is pretty much your area. But that could change. It could be smaller. You could potentially have a passive display that wouldn't even, most likely not even require permits, or you could need more. And that just depends on who applies. So we're pretty flexible. It's just that we had to, for our development permit and our building permits, actually put something in to the best of our knowledge at the time. So, but we are flexible. But it is only an acre, so there's only so much you can do.
A couple questions asking to elaborate on kind of the value add to the innovators. So unfortunately, not funding available from the city at this point, but are you able to, we spoke a bit about letters of support, in-kind support, that type of thing. Anything else you can elaborate on just to really emphasize the value to the innovators for this project?
Do you want to go first, John?
Yeah, beyond just what we've said, I guess, I think we've probably covered most of the key points today so far around access to land to test and demonstrate your idea for up to 24 months, and all of the support you'll get from BEC and the city during that time in terms of marketing, promotional support, access to partners, potential partners after you've commercialized your solution. And so there's a lot of intangible support as well we provide along the way. I think we've probably covered most of it, but Faisal, if you have any other points you want to add, feel free.
Okay, thank you, John. Yeah, and there would be the in-kind support in terms of getting you onto the site, providing you some consultation on how to do your environmental and your occupational health and safety plans, which are very valuable in terms of commercializing, because it's we've met a lot of entrepreneurs and innovators, and they think the technology is it, and it should just sell itself. And that's definitely not the case. And then you've got to get that customer, and then it's trying to get that technology into the customer. And that's where a lot of the operational procedures that we're going to support you with to get you in are going to be invaluable, because you're going to be able to accelerate your execution on the deploying of the technologies and actually commissioning them. So that's the one thing. And then the other thing is that, with the city is, usually people will try to contact when it comes to, from the waste, they usually try to contact the mayor or council, and then it usually finds its way to me anyway. So, and I really do love helping entrepreneurs and innovators. Just from my background, I used to work in investment banking in Toronto and clean tech, and I really do love that aspect of it. So you'd be in an environment within the city that is more about innovation and trying to help you. And I think that, and having a site that where you can actually go to and where you can actually touch, and people can come and touch the technology, which I think is pretty valuable.
Perfect. Thank you. So if the pilot project is proven successful, what are the next steps? Is there an opportunity for procurement from the city for the solutions?
Okay, yeah, I can answer that. So again, the city has one thing that is great about our city is that it has a great brand, but we are we're 670,000 people in the city. Like, I'm from Hamilton, and Hamilton's just a little bit smaller, and it's not on the brand level as Vancouver. So I think from a when you're dealing with waste, we just don't create that much in terms of. So what we can do though is, and we've done this in the past where we've done some pilots, which then the companies have been able to use to actually show some sort of a success. And when you do a pilot, and you're an entrepreneur, you can make that look really good for your next big commercial contract or your next big investment. So we're definitely open to that, and we're not precluded from doing that. But in terms of a commercial contract, we would need to go through our procurement policy, and we would have to do some sort of RFP. But we're happy to provide letters of support and potentially references for if you are doing an RFP or working with another municipality. But yeah, the intent is for you, on the VE side, is to help you commercialize so that you can be the next Tesla or Google or Waste Management or something that just makes Vancouver a more economically resilient and leading entity.
Great. Will the site effectively be a small transfer station because waste items can be dropped off there for a fee?
No, the waste items will not be dropped off for a fee. Really, the site is meant for the innovators, and really access will just be city staff as well as VEC staff, and then whoever you need to come in. If you need to bring investors, the waste that would be coming in would be essentially invitation only that you needed to do your processing. And then if you had products at the end, then I'm sure you'd be using those products to sell or to demonstrate to potential customers and strategic partners as a means. So it's more of a byproduct, the products that you make. That, unless I'm missing something, if you can actually create a commercial venture, that's definitely something as well. But it's not a transfer station at all because it depends on who applies. We could get, we might only get one e-waste processor, and we may get one organics processor and a couple. So then whatever they need to with respect to waste as an input for their commercialization journey, we're there to provide. But there's no fee for that.
Great. And maybe I'll just build and say that one of the factors that we'll be considering when reviewing the proposals is that there does need to be some sort of activity. It can't just be used as a storage facility. We are really looking for some sort of deliverables plan to make best use of the 24 months.
Yeah. Oh, Heather, if I could add as well, is one thing we'd like to see as well is just, when you apply, just tell us how the site will help you on your commercialization journey, and then we'll just check in with you from time to time to make sure that you're helping. And we totally understand that things change. Obviously this project itself has changed quite a bit since we started it 6 years ago. Things take time here at the city, and we just have to be flexible and pivot. And I think the best innovators that I've seen are the ones that are able to do that when things change. So we totally understand that.
Great. When it comes to choosing the solutions, will we be considering how different solutions could interrelate or establish relationships? Will solutions providers be able to share information and knowledge between each other? Anything formal, or will it be mostly informal?
Do you want to go, John, or want me to?
I expect there to be an informal, organic sort of like relationship that would form between participants at the site. You know, we do want to have a diverse array of companies on site doing, you know, biodegradable waste, recyclables, electronics, construction, demolition, and other things, kind of waste streams. But we would definitely encourage those kind of relationships to form. And yeah, we could definitely be a party to making that happen. That's something that we really want to encourage as kind of the synergy and these connections on site between the different participants.
Yeah, I would add that as well. Like, we are going to be taking a hands-off approach in terms of how the companies interact and who they want to talk to, and if they want to share resources, as long as they meet the occupational health and safety requirements, because occupational health and safety plans require named people to go in and out of the sites, which is an important factor, not just for the city, but for when you start to commercialize as well. So safety is really important to the city. The city has had, you know, some serious injuries in the past few years, and we take it very seriously. So we do not want that. So that's the only thing I would say. But in terms of, you know, go to town and meet as many people as you can, and see what you can do, and see what kind of disruption you can make.
And so maybe just to specifically call out the question around the review, no, we won't be specifically choosing the pilots based on their opportunity to interact with each other. I would say that's more like gravy if they can support one another, but the review will be based on the merit of the individual pilot proposal.
Yeah, and I think yeah, the criteria is pretty, like, we've got Stantec who are helping us on the technological review. We've also been approached by companies doing reviews of technology, like environmental technology verification, and that's great. It's just because it's a pilot and it's only 1 acre, and we need low footprint to start, or companies that can make up for the lack of power and be patient with us as we build out this concept to get it some momentum. That's what we're looking for at this point in time. So like, obviously we wouldn't pick like all organics processors, but and then I just want to also emphasize as well is that if you don't get onto the project, it's not a binary loss. We know that if there are companies that drop off because of, you know, lack of funding or something, then there will always be room, I'm sure, for another technology to move in, and that's what we want. Is we want that vibrant kind of feel coming in, amid the passive displays and also the public art that we're considering as well. I think it could definitely be a destination.
Great. So, building on that idea of finding potential partners, is there a platform to find local partners available?
There isn't currently a platform yet. You would work through us, VEC, just depending on the criteria. If you're looking for a local partner, just reach out to myself or the contact that was provided in the presentation. Hello at projectgreenlight.io. If you have any follow-up questions about you know, local partnership opportunities.
Yeah, and I think, yeah, local partners and strategic partners are going to be invaluable, and we can definitely introduce you. With respect to the City of Vancouver, we can get into a lot of, you know, all we have to do is, you know, we can get into a lot of doors and open up a lot of doors for you in terms of introductions. And John is very well connected in knowing who to talk to and with senior people. So, and I think they're definitely going to help with the help in the commercialization side with those introductions.
Great. Who supports the permits for these installations if there are permits required?
Who supports the permits? Sorry, I don't understand the question.
would the person who asked that question, if you're able to add a little bit of context to that, are there permits required, first off?
No, and the permits would not be required because we're working on all that up front with respect to what's called the certificate of compliance with the Ministry of Environment, plus the development permit and building permits that we're working on to wrap the entire site. So there would be no permits, but in terms of whatever you bring in, making sure that you have an occupational health and safety plan, and we would need to see that as well as an environmental plan with respect to any kind of emissions or spillage that and what your plan is, and we're going to help you with that. But we're not going to hold your hand. We're going to try to do that. So those are the things. And if there's anything that's structural, like if you need to bring in a trailer or some other structure, then the city can support you on that, but that would require your own building permit. But if there's a smaller temporary structure, then you can just bring that in. But we don't foresee any permits. That's why it's taken so long for us to get from 6 years when we thought of this idea to here now. So that's the plan, is to make it as easy as for you, because we don't want you, like, once you apply, we want to be able to show you a clear path to getting onto the site. And we just did not want to do that too early on if we hadn't got the permits in place.
Sounds good. Okay, so hopefully that answers that question. And if not, feel free to send us an email. We can add some more detail. So we are starting to run late on time, so maybe I'll ask some hopefully quick answers, and any questions that we don't get to, we can follow up with those who ask them. So does the technology need to be deployed within a shipping container? And will the application needing more footprint than the stated 2.5 meters by 12 meters be considered?
Yes and no. It doesn't have to be in the store. The storage container is, you can run it in there, but there would be definitely a ventilation component that we would have to look at. So we're not going to procure the shipping container right away until we know what you need, and we're not going to go buy them until we know. And if it's going to be of value to you, then yeah, we'll bring it in. Yeah, I think. Sorry, so it doesn't have to be operated within. And what was the other question, Heather?
Will larger pilot sites be considered?
Yeah.
Okay.
They will.
Perfect.
We know that it's perfect. We had to put something, and this is part of it as well, is that we just put all of our we focused and we actually committed to this actual layout and configuration, because we know that it's going to be subject to change, but we have put in so much work behind the scenes that we're, as a result of doing that specific change, specific goal, that we can actually move things around. We just didn't want to keep it high level and actually not show that, we're going to roll up our sleeves. So yes, we would consider.
Sounds good. Where can folks get more information about the city's existing disposal systems, such as compost sorting, et cetera?
Yeah, I think so. The Zero Waste 2040 plan talks about our future goals with some background of where we are in it. However, if there's anything specific, like I said, you probably noticed when I tried to answer the collection question on the organics that it is nuanced, the city. So it really would boil down to what is a specific question, and you can, if you want to send that through to John, definitely you can do that. I can also say that the city has a website, an email called zerowasteinnovation@vancouver.ca if there's anything really technical, but really recommend that you talk to on that. But once this challenge is over, I'm always talking to entrepreneurs to try to support them in any way I can, and work with the VEC. So I hope that even past this, that we can still keep talking.
That's good. Is the time frame 24 months, or is there potential for it to be longer?
I can answer that. The time frame would be 24 months. Again, it's subject to change. We came up with that because we thought it was a long enough time. So, but I think definitely come to a case-by-case basis. We don't know exactly, but we also wanted to give the kind of sense of like rolling over and bringing in new cohorts to bring in new ideas. and to try things. So some of them will be shorter, maybe some will be longer. I think if the site is helping you in reaching a certain milestone in your commercialization, I'm sure we would consider that. And then there might be some other companies that are not like really moving because of a lack of funding or some other event, and that's okay too. Then we would bring in people. So that's just sort of a kind of the proposed window.
Great. Can someone speak to the protection of IP for the technologies presented? What's the assurance of confidentiality for trade secrets?
I can. You want me to answer, John? You go ahead.
Yeah. So the zero waste demonstration site participants will maintain the ownership and control of their own intellectual property. We're very conscious of that fact, of that protection. So yeah, each selected proponent for the site will have, agreed upon milestones, reports, et cetera, that demonstrates results, but any intellectual protection is with the participant and is also with the responsibility of the proponent to protect that. So we're very aware that you will have sensitive trade secrets and information that you want to protect, and that will definitely be under your control and ownership.
Great. Okay, so we're light on time. I'm going to say 2 more questions. Hopefully this first one will be quick. Is the focus mostly on waste processing technologies, or is there scope for waste monitoring technologies as well?
Yeah, I can answer that. So the waste monitoring ties into, John mentioned the digital twin, that there's potential for that in the future, that we could do a digital side as well. But I think the hardest thing is to do the technologies that are like being really like more on the processing side. But we would definitely consider that if there's a way that you can do that. Like somebody had proposed some idea of doing some sort of AR, like augmented reality, virtual reality kind of display or demonstration. I said, sure, that sounds great. Like, it's really open. Like, even though it looks, it's really up to you to come up to us with some ideas of how you think you could use the site to benefit you. Because if you benefit, we benefit, and we're trying to say yes to you as much as we can. And if it's not like a site, then it's a display or a connection of some sort. And the city and the VEC have done this in the past, but again, having an actual site shows some commitment, something to point to, which will help us as the city to mobilize more resources as well and more funding.
Great. Okay, so 1 minute left to answer this question. Very quickly from each of you, what are the most important factors that will make for a winning application?
You go first, John.
Sure. Yeah. So is it innovative? Is it sort of an unconventional, innovative solution? We would be looking at that. Technology readiness level factors in as well. It's 5 to 9 or 6 to 9 actually. So yeah, we'd be looking at innovation, technology readiness level as part of the criteria. And we'd be looking at, do you have the skills to scale up your solution, create jobs? We'd be looking at it through an economic development lens as well. Are you addressing a difficult to manage waste stream where there's implications for not just City of Vancouver, but other cities around the world or other customers and partners? Can you really scale up and grow your business and find this useful to be on the site to leverage what we're offering? Faisal?
Great.
Yeah, I would echo all that, John, and I think I would also look at the people that are applying and their approach to be flexible, like very driven, but also flexible, because we're figuring this out. You'll be figuring it out, which is probably every day you're figuring new things out. And but yeah, I think we have been approached by a lot of companies and innovators that are expecting the city to just like give them a lot of stuff and hold their hands, and then sometimes we find that some companies are still in really early stages, but that can be compensated by having really strong people that are hungry and are willing to just get out there and be respectful, but also just pivot if something doesn't go their way. So that's what I'd be looking for.
Great. Thank you. And unfortunately, we are at time. I've put the QR codes back up. Please do check out the websites. Please send us an email if you have questions. For those questions that we didn't get to, we have captured them and we will try to send you an email with the answer. Other than that, feel free to get in touch and we look forward to seeing your applications. Thanks so much for joining us today, everyone.